Hi there, I hope you've been enjoying the Corgi Advent Calendar for this year. This is our quick Q&A video which we've been preparing since the 2nd of December. We're just going to dive straight into the questions. I'm David Mather, Corgi Brand Executive, and I'm here with Michael Clegg, our Aviation Specialist.
Without hat?
Without a hat, yes. I've just had my Christmas dinner, work Christmas dinner I should add, so ended up picking up a nice Corgi blue one. So no alcohol served at it, so whatever exuberance comes out in this entire video, it's entirely off the cuff, what can you say? So we've been sent quite a lot of questions actually over the past couple of weeks as from part of the Advent Calendar. Really good ones, really interesting ones. I've brought a few props with me. Michael hasn't got any props apart from his lovely headphones, so we're just going to have to work with what we got, I suppose. But first question we had sent in was sent in by Mark Stringer. What are all of the team's favourite Corgi aviation releases from over the years? Now I've thought about this one.
I don't think we've got enough time for this one because, like every collector, by the end of the sentence, I'll probably change my mind. But
who was a mistake opening with this one?
I'm going to go with. It's got to be one that's probably quite historic, really, in the industry, and it'll have to be the Lancaster, and any Lancaster, because when back in the turn of the 2001 when.
Oh, he's gone.
When this came out, if somebody had told us that somebody's going to produce a die-cast Lancaster, have I gone?
No, you're all right. Keep going.
Oh, all right. Yeah, if somebody told me that there was going to be a die-cast Lancaster, I wouldn't have believed it. And and when it did come out, you'd think, well, it's not going to pass muster, but it's absolutely fantastic, and it's as with one of the releases, still going strong now. So I think I'd have to go with the Corgi Lancaster.
Yeah, no, I've sort of had a bit of a think about it earlier on today. I actually couldn't really narrow it down to one single thing, but I think in terms of sheer impressiveness, I'd go with the Short Sunderland. Yeah. Absolute beast of a tool. But then at the same time, I also really like our 148 English Electric Lightning. So I think just in what we executed with that. But if I had to pick a single livery, and I could probably have sort of adapted Mark's question to give you that option there, I would have gone with the with Betty's Dream, the B29J we did a couple of years ago, which I think was beautiful one.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, really, really beautiful. So so Lancaster for Michael.
You did exactly what I was worried about. I changed my mind twice when you were saying your bit. So, I'll stick with Lancaster.
We'll be here all day. You never know. He's sticking with Lancaster. I'll go with Sunderland, stroke English Electric Lightning and 148 with a bonus for livery on the B25J Betty's Dream. So our second question comes from Mark Kitson, who asks, why are there no examples of British post-World War main battle tanks in the range currently? I think it's a relatively easy one to answer in the fact that we just don't have the tooling at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, Military Legends has only just made a return, really. So, it's still, being re-established in the range. And unfortunately for us, although we would love to have those in there, it's a question of simple economics. I think it's just a fact that there's quite a number of different Corgi sub-brands, and they're all vying for the same development money. So you have to be very certain what you put in there. So the only thing we usually say in situations like this is never say never, and everything is on the table, and perhaps in the future we'll get the opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, no, it's something which we're always sort of looking at, to be honest, and we have sort of discussed new tool tanks quite a bit, haven't we, recently? So watch this space is all we can say on that one in the future. Next question. These are actually questions 3 and 4. It's the same question. John Foxcroft and Rowan Gay actually asked the same question to us, which is, when is Corgi going to re-release the 1966 Batmobile? Well, I've actually got one from 1967 sat next to me. I have unpacked it already. Very lovely. In quite good nick. It's missing the missiles which come out of the rear exhausts. But this one is ultimately something which would be subject to a license agreement. So we're very, very much aware of it. It's just things have to fall into place to enable us to recreate this model, because we know how popular it would be. It's been sat on my desk, this model, since I started in the role in May. So it's something which I'm acutely aware of. I think we all are. It's just things have to happen outside of our control for it to happen at this stage. But again, watch this space. Number 4, it's a helicopter question, Michael, from Nick Mower. Corgi have always catered to 172 helicopters. However, do you have any plans for a new tooling of the Westland Augusta / Leonardo Wildcat? I think this is another question where we can say is...
Yeah, it's always on the table. When we go into our range discussions and we're talking about new toolings, we all go in prepared with a list of things that we think are potentials, but there's other things to placate. It's not just about what we think would work. It's, you know, there's other aspects of the business that have to be satisfied before something is suggested. And as we have those discussions, certain projects move up the list whilst others drop away. So they might end up on the next year's list. And we are aware of the fact that we've got a really strong rotary following. So it's another case of saying, you know, it does make the list, and there's every potential that it could happen in the future. But at any given time, certain projects might take precedence, which, you know, I mean, it gets pushed down. But it's definitely something that we would look at doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Next one. Merry Christmas, Corgi, says Kevin Ruff. Can we look forward to more James Bond models in 2022? Well, the answer is yes, but at this stage we've not actually managed to get our 2021 models out that we announced, as you may have noticed. So in January, as part of our range launch, you'll be able to pre-order our new 1/12 scale Triumph Scrambler model. And then later on in the year as well, we have our re-release of the Lotus Submarine from, and this is where I'm going to show myself up because I can't remember which Bond film it's from off the top of my head, Michael. That's embarrassing.
You're not asking me. It's not an aeroplane.
No, I know. You're our aviation specialist. But the White Submarine, is coming next year as well. As I could say for other things, further in the future, we are looking at those as well. So there will be more Bond to go into that range. And we're also, if you've not managed to get hold of it, where is it? Is it behind my head? Our beautiful battle-damaged No Time to Die DB5, which is a complete sellout when the film came out in September. This is coming back into the range again next year as well, so you'll get another chance to reorder that if you haven't got one as yet. So we're quite excited about that. Turning the paper of questions. Moving on to some Vanguard stuff, so I don't know what you're going to do for a bit, Michael. I think you're just going to have to sit there until you can put the kettle on. No, I'm kidding.
No, I can handle a few cars, don't you worry.
Yeah, okie doke. Well, here we go. They're all relatively similar on a theme. John Mower asks us, my question is, we understand why you favour the aircraft side over the Vanguard's range, but surely, if there were a better, less forward-orientated range, it would and will generate more sales as you involve collectors of specific brands. When was the last all-new Vauxhall, the last all-new Rover, Austin, Morris, Roots, etc.? These models have been seriously lacking and are required again by the collectors. So my question is, when will we see a better range of models with different brands and not just all Fords for another year? So, to be honest, John,
right.
Go face on.
You can give the proper answer.
Give the proper answer. Well, no. The thing is, with the range. Oh no, you're going to go. Are you going to go?
Well, the initial opening was regards Aviation Archive and Vanguards. I mean, Vanguards has done pretty well over the last couple of years for tooling investment. So it's not always the case that, you know, that aviation does take precedence. But again, I would suggest it's going to be down to what we can get through the new project to what we have residual stock wise, and there are no Fords in there. Then they would tend to think that Fords are the most popular products, which is probably why they would get promoted, I suspect.
Yeah. No, I mean, ultimately, the thing is, we do have sort of vehicles from other manufacturers still sitting in stock in the range. So, and Fords just go straight through. Our Ford Escort Mark II RS 2000, which is coming out in next April, having been announced this year, we've ordered a large number, far more than any other Vanguard release for many years, and it's pretty much sold out. So that does dictate how the business works in some ways, ultimately. If it sells, we're going to make it. And so Ford does sell. However, that said, I am incredibly receptive to the fact that there is the perception that we're making nothing but Fords at this stage. You know, we didn't sort of have any real, input over the Vanguard side of things for next year's range. But in the future, I think we will be looking far more heavily at spreading it out a bit again in the future. And that in turn sort of feeds into the next question from Brandon Smith. Are there any plans to introduce more model generations of the Ford Escort into the Vanguard's range? So again, you see the counterpoint. While I'm very appreciative of what we do, I'd love to have a model of the Mark VI RS 2000 16 valve, as I personally own one. Again, we'll be looking at something like that in the future.
Yeah.
But then he also asks, will we see more Rovers in general, Vauxhalls, BMWs, etc.? Again, it's sort of ultimately fed by how the range works at this stage. So we've got to rotate stuff out to put new stuff in. But Philip Kelly asked the same thing about as a collector of the Rover 75. I wonder if you have any thoughts or plans to reintroduce this car to your model range, having offered it in the past. Now, see, I mean, I've sort of been in the Corgi role for 6 months. You've been working for Corgi properly for much longer. I didn't actually realise we had a Rover 75 in the range. So when read this question, I went and did some digging and some research. And it was last actually released in 2006 in the main range. There's only been 4 main releases of that car. There was another one done as part of the Corgi Model Club in chrome, but we've only released it 4 times. And it's just sitting there. It is just sitting there. So all I can say to you on that one, Philip, is, and in a way tying back to both John and Brandon, is we'll be looking at these things because we do have this tooling sitting there. Similar thing to the Batmobile, it's down to a licensing thing in some ways. We need to check everything works. But if we've got it sitting there and it's not being used and everything works, we will be adding it back into the range quite easily. Moving on.
Plus the fact, just to mention something as well, we're usually restricted on the number of models that we can put in a range as well. So it's not just about the fact that the long list of models that we suggest, some don't get picked. It's just the fact that we have to make really tough decisions because numbers are cut back, because we have to deliver on these things, and it's not an easy task if the truth be told. So that's another reason why sometimes it can seem as if some models drop off the radar a little bit for a while.
Yeah, no, that's it entirely, isn't it? I've got this one's on a page break, unfortunately. So this one, this one's from Christian. It's actually got 3 questions, so I don't know whether we should do them individually or one at a time. They're all aviation, so you're delighted at the moment, I know.
Good stuff.
Will there
Bring it on.
be any reprints for at least some of the older aviation archive models, such as Desert Stuka, a classic Junker 88 bomber with bombs included, a BF 110 night version, or a vintage Focke-Wulf 190?
Right. Well, I'm suggesting that he probably means liveries there, and he doesn't mean going back to retool those. So the answer to that is definitely yes. I mean, if we can find a livery that's got a nice story behind it, or something that's particularly striking, everything is in the mix. Again, we have to mix the different toolings. We haven't had a Focke-Wulf for quite a while, so I suggest a Focke-Wulf might be high on the list for re-livery. So the answer to that one is yes. There's every chance that could happen.
Yeah. Part 2 from Christian. Are there any plans for releasing new stuff? Definitely. Such as, for instance, a Tempest fighter, maybe the one manned by Pierre Klosterman, or a Curtiss Helldiver. So these are new tool projects. These are CapEx.
Yeah. Now this is the bit I was most worried about, because I thought if I give any secrets away, I'm going to get a festive P45, and we definitely don't want one of those. So
it'll be me telling you off, so don't you worry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I've not got my hat on, I know. So yes, we're definitely always looking at new things. Of course, when you're having these discussions, there are different questions that come into play about the number of future liveries that you can get out of the tooling to see whether it's going to be cost effective, and also you do have to be aware of the competition, other people who may bring these things to market. So when you're talking about new projects, something like these 2 have been done by other companies. We'd love to do it. We like to think we'd do it possibly better, without sounding conceited about that. But when there's other models that we haven't done yet, these will just have to fall into that big mix, and the ones that come out will be the ones that we deem as being the most appropriate additions to the Aviation Archive range, taking its full 20-year heritage and what have you.
I mean, I think it's fair for us to maybe say as a teaser, but not a teaser in some ways. We have got a plan in place for the next 4 years for aviation CapEx at this stage. There's things which can switch around, but I think 23 and 24 are pretty locked on, aren't they, Michael? So
yeah, it's a good job you didn't. Good job you didn't say that before the questions came in. Otherwise, this could have been a lot more uncomfortable.
Yeah, no. So there is stuff in play at the moment. Is what we can say there, and that feeds onto something further down the list I can see, but we'll come to that in a bit. Christian's final question of 3. Any chance on releasing replacement or add-on parts for different existing aircraft?
I think we're always looking to enhance the range, but if it's a part from a tooling, the likelihood is that that wouldn't happen because you'd have to run the whole model to get the little parts that you're looking for. So I would suggest if that was an issue, you'd have to wait until we actually ran that model again, and then hopefully the spares department would have a supply of those, and you'd be able to get what you needed. But we wouldn't run a tool just to get a few extra bombs and things like that, because it just wouldn't be cost effective.
Because in effect everything is tooled in one go, so we have to actually put the whole thing through production, and so we'd end up making a plane to get some spare bombs. Is the effective result, isn't it?
Yeah, and plus the manufacturing plant wouldn't be too pleased on doing that either. So it's that's probably, without wanting to sound a bit trite, it's that's unlikely. But when that model is redone again, there's every chance that there would be spares available.
Yeah, that's it. Moving on to Julian Gray, it's still aviation. Will you be marketing?
I love these aviation fans. Bring them on.
I've made sure to group them together, so you've got plenty to do, and then there's a bit more at the end. So don't worry, give you a breather. That's all. So you let yourself calm down. Will you be marketing any more 1/32nd scale models in the future? And if so, any chance of the Hellcat, P47 Thunderbolt, ME262, Focke-Wulf 190, or Junker 87 Stuka? Now, I can see you grinning at the minute because you're quite excited about the thought of 1/32nd aircraft.
Yeah, I like Julian. Me and him are very much on the same wavelength. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to. It's a scale that's sort of fallen out of favour for whatever reason. I would love to do those, but again, it would come into that feasibility discussions that we have at the beginning of every range discussion as to whether the cost and the potential sales of that, because these things they'd be quite expensive, and of course they take up quite a bit of room in your display cabinet. But could you imagine a P47 in 1/32nd scale? Yes, please. Well, or an ME262. Oh, this is turning into a dream discussion for me.
Enjoying yourself. Well, as I say, what I hinted at earlier, Julian has a second part to his question. I think, Julian, I have a sense that you might quite like large-scale models. Any chance of doing a 1/72nd scale model of the B29 Super Fortress?
Julian, get your checkbook out and we'll definitely do it.
Yes, no, too right.
Yeah, it's one that we discuss regularly. It's always on there. It's something that we would love to do at some stage. When that stage is, I don't know. But it sounds like a cop out, but it's a never say never situation again. And it would look absolutely fantastic in the Aviation Archive range.
Yeah, no, it's sort of, as I say, we've come up with a plan for what's coming in the future. It's all we can sort of say. It's feasibility. It's a lot of things that have to go into place with something, because it is ultimately a really, really big model. And so it's just how on earth it would be produced is something which we'd have to talk quite heavily about. But yeah, never say never in the end with something like that. Give the people what they want.
That was a point where I thought that was a point you were going to reach one from behind you and show it to everybody.
I'd probably break my arm if I did that. No, I'd probably break my arm trying to lift it, but no, there you go. Well, I think we'd have to come up with a new size box even for it, because it's so big. Crazy thing. Right. Colin Palmer's got a question which I've been waiting for someone to ask since I started in May with this role. Am I all right to look down the camera as I answer this question? I'll read it out and then I'll look down the camera and answer it, because I think you know the answer.
Not if it's going to be a steely stare. You have to remember it's Christmas. Don't be frightening the kids.
Not blue steel. No, it's fine. So from Colin Palmer, my favourite question: what is the true position of the Corgi English Electric Canberra aircraft castings? As collectors are crying out for an RAAF example, and Corgi have never given a definitive answer to whether they exist. Hurrah, make one in brackets, or not. Boo-roo, gutted. So, Colin, I'm going to look down the camera and say to you, one of the first things I did when I started at Corgi was to ask, does the English Electric Canberra tooling still exist? And the answer is Yes, it does. It's all good. We've checked it. We haven't run it, but it is still there, sitting there, waiting to be used. Michael and I did actually pitch a Canberra for the RAF 100 range, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And it didn't actually make it in there. It would make it now, is all I can say. So watch this space. Watch this space. It's, yeah, is all you can say about that one. It exists. It's fine.
I thought you were going to look into the camera and say to Colin, boo-roo, but no.
Boo-rah, indeed, if I want to go full crazy.
It is. It's an absolutely magnificent tool, and it's one of the great Corgi Aviation Archive toolings that realistically has been underused. So it'd be great to get that out in the marketplace again. Of course, I mean, if it's going to have any longevity, we need people to buy it and to support it. And if people do, then the people will see that the Canberra is is current and is wanted. So there's more chance of getting more Canberras then. But yes, I'm sure we'll be looking Canberra in the very near future.
Yeah. So ultimately, Colin, the answer is definitely yes. It exists. Yeah, we're going to be looking at that. Is what we can say definitely as an exclusive for this video, I'd say. Next one, and this is a page break one. So this one's from Simon Libish. I recently took delivery of the reissued 417S Land Rover, and it's excellent. Thank you very much. What I really appreciated is that the box is very faithful to the original. So my question is, was the artwork done from fresh, based on an original box, or on hand in the office, or based on the original plate? So the answer to that is, this box was scanned from one we purchased off a certain online auction website. We don't actually retain the original artworks for any of these retro products anymore. That includes the RT26101 DB5, which has recently come out. So yes, our designer, it's possibly her least favourite thing to do. There's constant moaning. She won't thank me for saying that, but we do scan these from the original. They're all cleaned up and then recreated from scratch. So this is the original artwork from the box on the front, and then all the rest of it is designed from scratch. I think the only other aspect is the original Corgi logo. The other part of your question, if the latter, then why haven't you exploited the reproduction box market, which is worth a significant amount? It would not require remaking the entire catalogue because they're an established hardcore of box collectors that they continually hunt for. Please let me know what plans, if any, you have to reproduce reproduction boxes for the popular models, major and gift sets. So, Simon, this is something we didn't actually really know about, I think it's fair to say. It's a market which ultimately we do manufacture the product rather than cardboard, so we work with metal rather than card, but it is something which we might talk about, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where we're always we've always got a finger on the pulse with the collectors, because they know an awful lot about our products and our heritage, and we often learn things when we listen to these guys. So it is interesting to get those viewpoints.
Yeah, no, definitely. Penultimate question is an aviation question, Michael.
Right. I'm on station, ready to go.
This is from Carol.
Ready to scramble.
It's quite a good one, actually. This is from Carol. I would like to ask if there's going to be any more Japanese aircraft diecast models from World War II. I've only seen a Mitsubishi Zero so far. I think ultimately the Zero is quite an old tool, all things considered, isn't it? And so it is ultimately the only one we have in our tool bank.
Yeah, again, when we have the discussions, they're always on there, and they're beautiful aeroplanes with some lovely markings, and the same can be said for Italian aircraft as well. And we'd love to introduce them into the range. It's just the fact that when we take our aviation archive list to the powers that be, it's going at the same time as a big Vanguard list and a big original omnibus list and everything else. And there's only a finite amount of development money, so you usually end up with having to promote maybe one, or if you're lucky, two major projects, and they have to be your big hitters. And when you've got to pick from a list, it tends to be something like the Eurofighter Typhoon that gets. But the range would definitely benefit from Japanese and Italian stuff, and they're always mentioned. So it's just as I said before, one of these days they'll get the nod and they will make it in there. But a lot of factors have to align in the right direction for that to happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. Last question. It's not aviation, but this is actually
Oh, that's not fair.
this is actually the first question that came into the inbox from Mick Brannigan. Hi team, have Corgi ever considered a Christmas model, including a Santa sleigh with reindeer, Santa and presents? With the detailing you can achieve with CAD, it would be a remarkable collector's item. It could be a series to go with the traditional tree and presents around the base with the Hornby train set circling it. It would have a lot of nostalgia to it. I really quite like that.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that could be your first overseas scanning trip. You could be off to Lapland.
Go off to Lapland and actually see if if the gentleman would partake of any of his time for me, and we could actually see if we could scan some reindeer or not. I don't know what you'd have to do to take with you to do that, but no,
it's actually a really good idea, isn't it? Because when you get to Christmas this time of year, when you unpack all the decorations or whatever, you know that it's Christmas is impending, and it would be nice to think that there'd be a Corgi product that thousands, if not more, tens of thousands of people unpack every year, and it signifies Christmas, and then every year they pack it up again and look forward to it coming out again. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
So I'd say, Mick, consider that one on the consideration list, definitely. I mean, we've had sort of great success this year with releasing our Coca-Cola Christmas truck. That sold out very, very quickly. You will get another chance to buy that in 2022 because we'll be making far more of them. But ultimately, it's the idea of something that we produce, which is a decoration, not just a collector's item which sits there all year, but something which can maybe go away and come out again, as you say, Michael. So it's sort of something which I think is something which we could definitely have a look at and explore. But that is actually.
Can I be considered for the Santa scan, because I'm growing the grey beard now.
Growing a big bushy beard. Yeah, no, I think. Well, I don't know. I might give you a run for your money. You never know.
I'll beat you on the mince pie scale, though. I'll definitely be more rotund than your good self.
No, so there you go. But that's it. I haven't got any more questions. So I think all we've got to do now, really, Michael, is to say thank you very much for watching and wish everyone a happy Christmas and a safe New Year. With whatever comes to us in the future.
Yeah, very much so. And thanks very much for supporting the Corgi brand all year. It's very much appreciated. And we'll see you all in 2022.
See you all. Thank you very much for watching.
See you soon. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.